Again, welcome everyone. I'm so excited about this conversation with you, Molly.
Aw.
I really am. I mean, as you know, I've dedicated a lot of my time in my life, obviously my personal experience, but just holding space and holding circle for this transition from maiden to mother. And it's just beautiful. I feel like that's like your work. I mean, you do so many things, but for that to be your focus for life after birth, to really be the way that I see it and have experienced it as a new mom with Phoenix,
Mhm.
just you really honoring that transition from maiden to mother. And it's
Mhm.
beautiful. And from my own experience, it doesn't end. It's just these different phases. My
Mhm.
daughter is getting ready to turn 10. I'm getting ready to be a mother of a 10-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
So I have been in this parenting place for almost a decade.
Wow.
Yeah, I just like
Mm.
want to pause for a second and just be like, take that in.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And so, yeah,
yeah.
just the learnings from her and the mirroring and the feedback and the growth that I've experienced and will continue to experience. And now I have Phoenix, my son, he just turned 4. And
Oh.
so, yeah, just being in this place of motherhood and parenthood and just constantly seeing the opportunity for me to just grow and grow
Mhm.
and grow and
Mhm.
grow and see more and learn more about myself. And so I'm so happy that you've created and continue to offer life after birth. And I'm curious, what are you in your circles and in the conversations that you're having with women as they transition into motherhood and parenthood, what are you hearing? Like, is there something specific that you're hearing in circle?
Hmm. Great question. I think the past 2 years, I've been doing my circles virtually, because of the pandemic, and I feel like COVID has really colored a lot of motherhood, and I work with kind of the first year of motherhood, and then I work with kind of 1 year and up, like the toddler moms. And so the bulk of the folks I work with have become mothers during the pandemic. And I think a common theme that I've seen is a lack of being witnessed as a pregnant person and as a mother. And I think also I've seen themes of kind of the pandemic exacerbating isolation, lack of um, access to resources, lack of um, connection with family members, in person, communities. So these are some like vital ingredients for like motherhood. And I've seen these mothers who've become mothers the past 2 years being robbed of a lot of those things, and having to really work hard to try to find some semblance of those things.
Yeah. And what is like, so when someone comes with that experience, because that is an experience I didn't have, being
Hmm.
a new mom in a pandemic. And so, what is the solution to that? If someone is
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm wanting to be witnessed, I'm wanting that connection, but here we are, I'm
Yeah.
a new mom in a pandemic, and I just have my computer.
Yeah.
And I have Zoom, which I'm really grateful for because it's a
Hmm.
way for us to connect. But what is your facilitation towards fulfilling that for someone?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think with Zoom and being able to connect, through our computers and the internet. I think that's been kind of one of the only lifelines, for new moms. The ones that come to my group, they have the weekly anchor of, seeing the same faces and getting to observe each other's growth and getting to see each other's babies, even if it's not in person. So I think that's been kind of one of the only things we've had, and so we've made it work. And then, of course, I think nature, going to like beaches or parks or anything you have access to, and safely meeting up with other mom friends. I think I always encourage, the gals in my group to do that, because I think nothing can replace in person. There's just something extra special about that. So I encourage that connection outside of our Zoom time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really beautiful. I mean, I agree, there's nothing like in person, but here we are,
Yes.
and
Yes.
now we have both,
Mhm.
as we transition into this other phase, we have both, which is really beautiful.
Mhm.
Really.
Definitely. And I think to that point, I feel like, I'm sure you can agree, like we're able to connect with more people and reach more people. When I was running my groups at Women's Space, your beautiful space, for 2.5 years, there was nothing quite like that. And at the same time, I think only a particular kind of uh, location, people who are located in LA could make it to that location. It was in Culver City, so it depended how far you'd want to schlep and drive with your baby.
Yeah.
Some folks would come from Pasadena and be like, that was great, but I don't think I can drive there every week. And others would like make the schlep, and so it was kind of, more of like West Los Angeles convenient for that side of town. So I feel like one of the blessings of Zoom has been able to just reach more people, and has been very convenient for those with new babies, because it can be a lot to schlep a new baby, especially if you have one that doesn't like the car or is extra fussy, or so yeah, so that's been the blessing of connecting through this platform.
That's amazing. I want to go back to something that you said that I feel like I know I have experienced in any time in circle, whether the focus be motherhood or whatever the focus is, wherever we are, as women on our journeys, and men too, is that part of being witnessed and being seen, and seeing how that is such a powerful way of being. And I believe the beauty of having Zoom, and I have seen that every single time. It's why one of the many reasons why I keep coming back to Circle, because of that witnessing and really providing that space for people to share. And that's so healing. It's so healing. And so I think that that's, regardless of, what we prefer, that it's really about just being witnessed and seen, and also to be acknowledged. I think is so huge.
Yep, definitely. And as you know, from being in circle with women, I think what's such good medicine is when you have your own experience reflected back to you. Sometimes hear your story through other stories, even if it's slightly different. And I think one of the other benefits of having a circle with mothers is you walk into it. It's similar to a 12-step meeting. Like with 12-step meetings, you walk in and there's this kind of unspoken knowing. You don't have to explain. You just know everyone gets you on a certain level, and I think with motherhood is the same way. You might have had different, paths to becoming a mother, but when you all show up there, you're all just kind of like, yes, we understand you, we see you. And that's just so powerful.
Mhm. Yeah, really powerful. I mean, at women's space, because the doors were always like you could see through them. So the women would come in with their babies, and then just seeing them sitting in circle and the magic that was happening, and the before and the after was just so beautiful to watch. And
Mm.
like I said, I got to experience it too.
Mhm.
But I'm just so grateful for you and your
Mm.
service.
Thank you. And the feeling's mutual, and I really am forever grateful to you and Women's Space for it really contributed to kind of the alchemy of my group. And I don't know if I would have been able to maintain it through the pandemic had it not had that proper gestation and nurturing, of your space. So thank you.
Mm. So I want to open it up to questions. What are you hearing? What do you want to know? Where you're at? Because Molly and I could just talk about this for hours, love on each other and acknowledge
Yes.
each other and reflect to each other. Because that's what we do, which is beautiful. But how can we be of service to you? What questions do you have? Who would like to begin?
I guess, hi everyone. I'll start.
Hi,
Hi.
girl.
So happy to be here. Hi, Paula. So nice to see you. It's been a long time, and Molly too. Are we just asking questions about like just kind of where we're at in the stage of motherhood? It's kind of what came to me is my son is going to be 3 next week, and I like
Gosh.
literally can't believe it because the last time I think I saw you in person, Molly, was when he was a tiny little baby at one of the
Yes.
gatherings, So here we are, almost 3
Mm.
years old, and I literally can't believe it. I think infancy was really, really hard for me, like that first year, even 2, until he turned 2, and then suddenly he started talking and, having his own little personality, and he's just so fun and funny, and it's just like I'm definitely, I think, an older kid. Like I don't know if there's different types of moms, or maybe it just got easier for me, but now it's like, okay, I'm getting this. I'm like kind of like liking this mom thing a lot more than when it was just him and I kind of, I don't know. Anyway, so one of the things that's been coming up for me, and Paula started off this conversation by, saying that our kids mirror things back to us. And I actually kind of forgot about that. And one of the things that's really been coming up for me is, we live in Newport Beach now. I'm a single mom by choice. You guys know that. And, I have a lot of insecurity. And as I'm planning his birthday party and seeing some of the other birthday parties we've been to, that I'm not able to give him some of the things that I wish I could give him.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm crying right now because I think it's my own stuff, maybe from child, I don't know. It's just, we went over to his friend's house last week, and, they have a big house and all the, like, so much stuff. He's the sweetest kid, but he's just got so much stuff. And, I felt really bad that night when we came home that I'm like, gosh, I wish I could give Chase some of that stuff, like some of the toys or the private swim lessons or, just the, and I can't. And, I went into his room in the morning, and you know what the first thing he said to me at not even 3 years old was, Mommy, Lucas has so many toys. I don't have a lot of toys. And it like literally crushed my heart. And I know this is temporary, maybe one day things are going to shift, for us just financially and just as a family. But right now, there's a lot of guilt. And you know what? I didn't know how to respond to him in that moment. So I would love some help and just some support around, some families have dads, they have dual income. We are single. Like, how can I be at peace with it so I can help him know that it's really not about, the stuff, even though it feels like it is, and how to be comfortable in our family that might not look like everybody's family.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big one, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I have some thoughts, April. And first of all, I can't believe Chase is going to be 3. Like I remember you came in, like, I think you came in when he was really young. You were just like wanting the support, and he was like so tiny, and so I'll forever picture him as like a little newborn. And then I saw him as he got older, but I'll always remember that. So I can't believe he's 3. It's blowing my mind. But I think, you started off by talking about how our children can mirror stuff back to us. And I think one of the things that I've noticed, I have a 5-year-old, almost 5.5-year-old daughter. And one of the things I've noticed is, like, the older they get and kind of friends are introduced and social stuff's introduced, they have feelings about it. And then we have feelings about it too. So it's kind of this like parallel, what's the word? Injury, like you see your child say, oh, I don't have as many toys as so-and-so. And then you feel for him.
Yeah.
And then you have your own emotional reaction to that. And so kind of what comes up for me in terms of what might be helpful could be to look at what specifically is being triggered in you around, maybe having less material things than Chase's peers, and see if there's some healing and repair you could do within yourself around that, if it's triggering stuff from your own childhood. Or I think that could maybe be something that could be helpful.
Thank you. Yeah. There's another layer there. There's something there, I guess, that I know that actually probably runs deep because I'm so emotional about it. It's And so I haven't even really tapped on what it is, but I think you just helped me understand even more that it actually is probably a level of healing that I need to sort of get into for myself. Yeah.
Definitely. And also, you're not alone in like having your kid like say something or ask something and have no idea how to respond. I think that's like, Paula knows, she's been doing this for a decade. You've just constantly thrown curveballs like multiple times a day, and so, and just, especially, I don't know, I'm just thinking too about like when stuff about sex comes up, like, it's just, that's like, and it comes up young, we talk about that in my conscious parenting class, like, and it's hard to think on the spot, and especially if it's a tender spot, and you're feeling triggered. So yes, just wanted to kind of normalize that, not knowing,
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then I think the other piece that comes up for me, I hope Emily doesn't mind me sharing. I went to her son's second birthday on Saturday, and she's French, so maybe it has like maybe it's a French thing, but like they were at like Will Rogers Park, and it was so simple and so beautiful. Like it wasn't like a million decorations and a million like, ball pit and bouncy house and all the things. It was like they had bubbles, they had a basket of strawberries and muffins and oranges and waters and a little bit of Prosecco. And then she had a gal come and do some yoga with the kids. And it was just like so simple and so refreshing. Cause like we've all been to those birthday parties. Like, believe me, I've been to ones where there's like a horse dressed up as a unicorn and like all these things. And then my daughter's like, it sets the bar really high, but I think, so I just want to kind of praise like the simplicity of birthday parties, and that like kids can have fun doing no matter what. And I think also, it's important too to have, I'm sure you already are, but to have these conversations with Chase around like, yeah, like families are different, you have one mom, so and so has a mom and a dad, or two dads, or whatever. Kind of normalizing the differences between families, and as he gets older, maybe he can understand, have the capacity to understand some things more about why so and so has more toys than him. So I don't know.
I love that. Emily, if it's okay, I might message you to get some ideas about what you did at the park, because that's what I'm doing. We're going to the park and I don't know what the hell to do at the park. But yeah, and about normalizing the families, I've been embarrassed to even talk to him about it yet. Like how great, I haven't talked to him about it. And so that's all my stuff. So yeah, it's time, I think, to start addressing some things, because he's very smart and he knows.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And again, like you once you feel okay with it, then it'll be easier to articulate that to him and communicate that to him. And I think there's such great books about explaining the differences between families and skin color and body sizes and all that kind of stuff. I can send you some books that I think he might resonate with, to just start to understand that we're different, and we're gonna have different birthday parties, and we're gonna have different, there's going to be really fancy ones and really simple ones, and like they're all great,
I love that. Thanks so much, Molly.
Yeah,
thank you.
of course. Yeah.
I just want to share something, Molly. I mean, it's amazing what you're sharing. I'm like, yeah, me too. I hear you. When we were talking, when Molly and I were talking, and when I was writing up this write up for today, just really thinking about my own experience. First of all, it's very humbling, and for me, I think I know something, and then my son is like, I know nothing, because they teach me. Sometimes I'm the teacher, and then they're the teacher, and then I'm the teacher, and then they're the teacher. But I think what's really powerful from my experience is this desire that I have, and I probably will have until I die, to really grow within myself. And all the tools that I use for myself, I use them with my children, with my husband, with all the relationships that I'm in. And so, when you're saying, April, yeah, that's my stuff, that's my healing, it's like every time we heal something within ourselves, every time we have a shift in our thinking, a perspective shift, we see life differently. And our life includes children. So we see our children differently. And so for me, as I'm listening to you, April, and your story, yes, been there, done that. It's very humbling to be in the not knowing and to receive, like, I don't know what to say here, but then to like take a breath. And I have learned over time to live in that there is no right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. So it shifts the, well, I wish we had more, but we don't. But if you live in right or wrong, then none of that matters. And so I think that's what we're teaching our children, that it doesn't matter, to really live in that place of there is no right way or wrong way. So whether someone wants to throw a birthday party and it be extravaganza and whatever, or the beauty of the simplicity of what you shared and experience from the birthday party that Emily threw, it's like, there is no right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There is no right or wrong. And to me, there's an exhale for me there. I'm not like, oh my gosh, I can't give my children what they, I get into a place where I can't be present and I can't breathe. And sure, I think it's a part of human experience to be like, yeah, I really wish it looked differently, but it doesn't, and that's okay. And finding the beauty in that versus living in the lack. And that's why I think that, anytime we get opportunities to go within ourselves, it's such a ripple effect, not to the circle, but to the people in our lives, to our children, and they're so wise and so smart, and to really be present and listen to what they have to teach us and what they have to say. I mean, I'm sure you all have experienced it. It's really magical and cool and sometimes surprising.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's what I felt called to share. And that's what I heard just listening to you and listening to you both, really.
Thanks so much, Paula. I love the idea of just there's no right or wrong way, and in being in acceptance of like, I wish things looked differently, like I do, but also, being okay in this moment, just an acceptance of this moment, and even maybe in gratitude of this moment. That's where my work is. That's where my work has been for a while, but certainly during this conversation too.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, what I see over and over and over again in circle and in my own experience with my children is that exactly what we were talking about: being witnessed, acknowledged, and loved. The end. It doesn't matter if they have 50 million toys or one toy. It doesn't matter. It's like not bypassing, but moving through that and like taking the importance away from that. It's like, no, let's go deeper with this. Actually, I'm going to move into love, and I'm going to love you, and I'm going to witness you, and I'm going to acknowledge you, because that's what matters. It doesn't matter if you have a million toys or one toy or no toys. You see what I'm saying? It's like moving past the physical. And I don't know from you, Molly, but that's what I heard, that it's like the simplicity of Emily's party it gave space to the magic. It gave space for love to be present. That's what I heard. Obviously, it's not there.
Yes,
that's what I heard.
Definitely. And when little kids get together, you just kind of have to set the stage, and it can be really simple. And then they end up playing, and they end up eating, and they end up connecting. And, it's like, if there's too much stimulation or too many like scripted things, then like you said, Paul, there's not enough room for just the magic to take over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, April. Thank you.
Something you said, Paula, about that human, that need for the child to feel witnessed, acknowledged, and loved, that resonated with me for my own human need to feel those things, and how one of the biggest challenges, I think, becoming a mother in the pandemic has been to feel those things with my friends, not having that in-person connection. I think it's really those needs have I don't know, I feel like they have suffered from the not having that in-person connection. And it's really difficult, I've found, with my friends to feel, especially, just not being witnessed, and having them not see the transition that takes place and the growth that has taken place, but also to not witness the challenge in motherhood, especially for my friends who aren't mothers, to to not see that in person, it's just, I feel like it's created this bigger distance. And I think I've craved the connection with my friends more so because this time is so isolating. I have seeked that out in them. And I think it's just really difficult for that connection to happen. So that's something that I've really struggled with. And I think I've experienced a lot of grief over is just, I think, and I've talked about this in Molly's groups as well, just that, wanting to be witnessed. And I think being witnessed, I think would help with this identity shift, to really feel seen and to have that reflection. Because when you don't have that reflection with your peers, it can almost be hard to see the growth that you have made.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I've experienced a lot of grief around just friendships that feel like they've suffered or they've that I've lost in this time. And this feeling of kind of feeling misunderstood by some of my friends who haven't been able to even have any idea what my life looks like now. So yeah, my question, I guess, to you guys is, I know it was very different for you because going through the transition pre-pandemic, but if you have any suggestions on kind of like working through that grief, or maybe like changing my expectations, or seeking for that connection in a different place. I don't know what the answer is, but it's just something that I've come up against.
Mm.
Well, it's like what Molly said, it's like what's so beautiful that I got to witness and be a part of is that camaraderie, the me too, the like you okay, like that unspoken magic. And there is a grieving and there is a death, and that comes with the transition from maiden to motherhood, is that some people don't have that experience, but that's okay. And so there's an opportunity to just, acceptance is not, I love the definition of it. Well, how I understand acceptance is that I don't have to like it at all, or agree with it, or wish that it was different, sure. But I prefer to be peaceful within. And what gives me that is to accept it for what it is. And so when I hear you, about your friends, like that is a loss. But how could they understand something that they have not gone through? So there's an opportunity to have compassion for yourself, of course, but also for them, because they haven't been through what you have been through. And there are only a few people on this planet who could really be there for a mother who have not been a mother themselves. There are people, I've experienced them before. They're very few and far between. And that's just my experience and what I've seen over time. And that's just the reality. It just is what it is. But that acceptance allows me to have compassion. It allows me to shift my thinking into, okay, I get it. They can only meet me here. And so when I go to a group with Molly, I'm able to relate there. Or when I come to Women's Circle, I'm able to relate there. It's like we all get each other. But sometimes people don't get me in the real world at all. Oh, they think I have like 4 heads. Just not my people. But
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think it's been especially hard for me to accept because I was one of those people before I had kids that wanted to relate to mothers and surrounded myself in that community at Women's Space and was curious and interested about it even before I was ready to have children. I've always kind of like extended that interest and support, and observed, as much as I could about what they were going through. But I love what you said, Paula, about how can they relate if they haven't gone through it and if they haven't even seen it. And having empathy for that, even when it's really hard. And even when when this acceptance has not been something that I have liked, or has been easy for me.
Yeah, right. And I also, I remember when I did my in-person groups at Women's Space, there was this woman who became a mother later in life when she was in her early 40s. And I'll never forget what she said. She was like, after I had children, I went on an apology tour to all my friends who were already moms. And because she was like, I couldn't have known like how to show up for my mom friends. And I think, Taylor, you're an anomaly that you felt called to working with mothers and understanding mothers and showing up for them, prior to becoming a mother. But I think generally, most folks don't know how. So yeah, I can see also how the grieving process of your friends, Taylor, I feel like is exacerbated by the pandemic too. I feel like becoming a parent and being in the global pandemic simultaneously, like that, I think either one of those things has put strain on friendships, and then those combined, becoming a mother and having a pandemic, there has been a lot of, I think, like loss of friendship and change of relationships the past 2 years. And I know for myself, I feel like a different person since the pandemic. I feel like the things I used to worry about pre-pandemic seem minimal compared to like what we've all been through, so I can only imagine just all those of you who became mothers during the pandemic, just all the processing that you've gone through and the changes you've gone through. So it makes sense to me why you don't feel as close to some of those friends,
I recently went out in LA and went out with my husband for the weekend. We had like a weekend to ourselves and we went out to a lot of restaurants, and I'm pregnant with my second now. And I was, dressed up, and it was like the first time that anyone had seen me pregnant because of my first pregnancy. It was during the winter for one thing in Canada. So I was bundled, but also it was during the pandemic. So I wasn't going grocery shopping. I was not leaving my house. And it felt like I was pregnant for the first time, because like to have people see me and like interact differently with me and just like smile at my belly or like ask how far along I was, it was just like this totally different experience. And I loved it, but it also made me kind of sad for the first pregnancy and just like how there was like, I didn't even know what I was missing.
Right.
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Does someone else want to share? Emily?
Hi, and thank you, Molly, for the kind words earlier. I'm so flattered.
Oh,
I wasn't expecting that. And then this might be a response to Taylor. I don't know if that's okay. I can share something afterwards, but it's sort of, you sort of like I had a light bulb moment a little bit as you were talking about this, and I'm really sorry for that feeling of grief with your friends. I think that's like one of the hardest things about motherhood, that feeling and that isolation. But I just wanted to maybe share, if it's helpful, that I was kind of the opposite of you. When all my friends had babies, I had a lot of trouble relating. And I remember like a very palpable, intense sense of grief whenever one of them would tell me they were pregnant, or after they had the baby, when I would call and, try to talk to them on the phone the same way that we used to, but their like attention is being pulled away every 30 seconds and we're not really talking anymore. And I just thought it was interesting that like the feelings can go both ways, right? It's like I've been lucky and had some single friends that have been really supportive of my journey as a mother, and I'm so grateful for that. But I imagine must be really intense, really hard. I remember feeling it on the flip side the other way too. For me, I think my biggest challenge right now, and as a mother, have been a lot of challenges, but maybe right now things are easier because for me, like April, I think toddlerhood is, I'm better suited for that than the infant chapter. But for me, the struggle is with my partner, with my husband, because I was expecting for us to have some issues, but they've been very different from what I was preparing for. I thought that I was going to resent him and do a lot more of the work around parenthood, or that he was going to like go off to work every day and I was going to feel like I was stuck at home, and all these things didn't really play out that way because of the pandemic and maybe because of other things too. But I feel like he's a wonderful teammate and we're just like fabulous partners in this, and I can rely on, I just feel like we're like a really good equal team, but we've lost all of the passion, the sex is gone, like he doesn't notice when I get a haircut, like it's just become this sort of, we're just like part of the furniture for each other, you know what I mean? And I'm having the hardest time accepting it and also trying to kind of turn that around. And we're in couples therapy, and I love our therapist, he does too, but it still doesn't seem to be shaking loose. And I can't help but think about divorce and affairs and all the things, I don't see a world where we stay in this mode forever. I think I need more in terms of a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
I know it's a tough one. Sorry.
No, I love that you brought that up. I think it's so great. I think it's something that, well, I've definitely been through, especially having small children, and I don't think it's talked about enough. I don't. And so I see you and witness you and acknowledge you.
Thank you
for bringing that up, seriously, because it's huge, and it's a part of what happens when we have children. It's a part of the process. It's a part of the journey.
Thank you. It's nice. I bring some of this stuff up often with a lot of curiosity. If anybody else has gone through it or going through the same thing,
Mhm.
And I think what shocked me was that I don't feel like he's attracted to me anymore. And now, now it kind of is starting to go both ways. At a certain point, that light switch is going to turn off for me too if I don't feel the desire, the current, that energy,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Oh, yes. And just to echo what Paul is saying, I do think I do think it's very normal to have the relationship change after you have a baby. And um I think I'm glad to hear you're in couples therapy. But that sounds like it's not you need more. It's maybe not clicking for you too. Um and yeah, I think it's an opportunity. Well, let me rephrase what I was gonna say. I think the thoughts of like, fantasizing about another relationship or the fantasy of leaving, I think that's really normal too, and not talked about enough. And I think it's it's pointing to, some unmet needs and something that needs to shift between you two, for sure. So yeah. Mm.
I guess I'm trying to remind myself in these moments when I'm thinking clearly that a less stressful way of living would be to just try to worry about it a little bit less, right? And like, to Paula's point about acceptance, okay, what will be will be. If we stay together, that will be great. If we don't, then okay, maybe something great will happen out of that. Or I don't know. That also sounds like a fucking nightmare. Like a divorce
Mhm.
sounds like a nightmare. But
Right.
I think I need to just like be open and be grateful that things, while they may not be exactly what I want, they're still good, and sort of like let the world, let my life happen to me instead of trying to control it. I don't know.
Mm.
Something that I did this weekend in my relationship for my husband is well, we have been in a relationship for 15 years. So I've been
Same.
like using, this muscle, like, it's not like a one-time thing. It's like well, at least from my experience, it's an ongoing journey with him, and with myself, which is really a beautiful thing. But I'm met with a lot of challenges with him, but they're really about myself. They're really about me. So I got curious. I asked myself this week and I was like, what can I just do differently that's out of my comfort zone that I used to like on Thursday last week used to, result to like anger or upset or frustration or challenge. Like, how could I just like move through that and just show up differently? And I did it. I mustered up the courage to break through what felt like anger and challenge. And I just moved through it. And I totally had a shift in how I see myself. My husband did not change at all, but I did. I changed my thinking. Instead of just like living in the anger and living in the challenge and living in the story of like, he's so challenging,
Yeah.
and it brought passion. Back to back 2 days in a row is a lot for us. Like that feels very like what we used to do together when we were young, not like now. And so it's so interesting how just by shifting my thinking by getting courageous enough to get out of my own way and do something differently, how that resulted in passion, more sex, and more understanding.
Mm-hmm. I love that, Paula. And I think, that relates to something Emily was saying about letting go of control. Because I think, we can't control our partners. They're probably not going to change, but we can, kind of keep our side of the street clean and work on ourselves and make those inner shifts that you're talking about. And when we change the story and shift the dynamic, I think it fosters more intimacy, which leads to sex, So I think that that could maybe be more empowering for you, Emily, to know that there's some stuff that maybe you can do, even if you can't change Ryan,
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to remind myself about like letting go of the story. I think you said something about breaking free from that story.
Totally.
That story of like, he doesn't want me and we're not going to make it. Like, I have to get out of that story, because otherwise I just find the little evidence every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's still, the fact is he's still in the relationship and he's willing to go to couples therapy. So that's data, for you. If he, I don't know what he's thinking or the intricacies of your relationship, but like he's showing up and he's showing up as a dad, I guess the other thing I was thinking, have you two gone away together alone since Milo's been born or recently? Is that something you guys can do?
We need to do it again. I just brought it up this morning. Yeah. We did it 6 months ago and it was great.
I think that's so important, just to get out of the vortex of parenting and living together, having a house, like, bills and dishes and everything, getting out of that, which is very unsexy, and like, getting away and trying not to talk about Milo, and like, rekindling some of that, which Paula talked about, having sex 2 days in a row. Like, that's unheard of for folks like us who have been married and so long and been together so long. So like, but it's possible with a shift in perspective, which is so powerful. I love that you shared that, Paula. And then the last thing I will say is, I might have told you this, Emily, already, but I listened to this book on Audible called Fierce Intimacy. Has anyone heard of that?
I haven't heard it, no.
Oh, it's so good. It's this guy, Terry Real. And he's like, there's like a 12-step like lineage to him. His mentor was Pia Melody. She wrote some books on like facing love addiction. Anyways, talking about perspective shift, because I'm open that I struggle in my marriage and I'm in couples therapy. I listened to that book a few weeks ago and I really felt like, similar to what Paula said, I felt like my husband didn't change, nothing changed, but like I made this shift to kind of put the finger back at me, because I'm used to like doing this all the time to him. And then I was like, oh, what can I do, to make our dynamic better, because I have to live with this person, and he has to live with me. And like, I'm just like I'm contributing to it not being very harmonious. So it was very empowering to listen to that book. So I highly recommend it. And it really helps, I think, foster more intimacy, which is what we all want,
Yeah. What's it called again?
Fierce Intimacy.
Love that.
I'll put it in the chat in case anyone wants to save the chat.
Great.
I just wanted to share that Emily, that I really, when I heard you talk, the thing that I really heard was this like passion and fire within you. And I can really relate to that, and feeling like it's a part of myself that it just doesn't, I don't get the opportunity to like express that enough being a mom. I think it's tough to have that opportunity and to create that opportunity, whether it's like by yourself doing something creative or with your partner. But I just wanted to share that, like, I really heard that from you, and that I don't know, it's really beautiful to hear that coming out of you, and that is like inside of you, and I can really relate to that.
Love that. We're going to go over a little bit, but just one more question. If anyone has it, that's okay with you, Molly.
Oh yeah, totally fine. I have a little buffer.
Okay, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
One more question. If anyone has it, please, by all means, share.
I was just going to share another resource because Emily, I related. I'm sorry I jumped on late. I had a Zoom call that went late, and so I feel like I stayed invisible, and then I was like, oh, I just miss having kind of like the feeling that we're all together. So I'm sorry for missing that first half an hour for myself and also just the group dynamic. But Emily, I really relate to what you're saying. I have an 8-year-old, and I've definitely gone through this with my husband. We were together for, I think, 7 years before we had a child, and just how that dynamic changes. And a couple things I just thought of to share. One is that, now having an 8-year-old, I feel like I have more time. How old's your child? I missed. Okay. So as they're in school, you get more time to find those outlets. And I'm a runner, and I started, besides work, which is one thing, but like when you start finding things that, feed you, that make it so that you're not like, your child's name is Milo, like whoever's mom, like I'm Olympia's mom. Sometimes people don't even know my name. They're just like, oh, there's Olympia's mom. And you're like, I love my child and I love being her mom, but like, I want to be Carlin, and me for like me and who I am. Right. So there's that piece that gets, I think, easier in some ways with time and as they age. But then finding those outlets that really like are not, we'll always be connected to our motherhood in everything we do, because that's what we've chosen, but also finding those things that just, it's kind of like people would say when I had my baby, like, get a running stroller. And I was like, no, that's what I do for me. Like, I don't want to be feeding her snacks on my run, which is, I run to get away from everything and to like connect with me. I don't want to be like screaming child snacks. She's like, doesn't want to be on the run. It like undoes the whole thing.
Yeah.
That was the other thing, is finding those things that are just for you, that are just yours. And then just the third resource, something that my husband and I did together when the pandemic first hit, that I thought was, it was, some of it didn't resonate, but a lot of it did, was Esther Perel has an intimacy course for couples, and you can also do it honestly for yourself. I told single friends to do it just for you. So you could, maybe if you're in couples therapy, that might be enough for the couple, for him, based on whatever works. You could also do it for you. And it's such a great, I just enjoyed it so much. It was like, I think $100. It was some very reasonable number that you can do. There's 10-minute videos, there's 20-minute videos. Some may resonate with you, some may totally not resonate with you, but we really enjoyed it. And I thought at a time when we were hunkered down and could have felt really itchy with one another, we found all these like really funny moments and kind of new inspiration for having that time. And so I just offer that up as something that I felt like was helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Oh my gosh. And please never apologize. It's perfect.
I get so much from these, and I just like had it as this anchor in my day. And I had a new client who just went over, and I didn't want her cut off. And I'm like, I have my women's circle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, those are some great tips, Carlin. I love Esther Perel, or however you say her name. I love her. She's so brilliant when it comes to relationships. All of her books and TED Talks and podcasts and everything. I haven't heard that course though. That sounds like a fabulous resource.
If you're on her mailing list, you get kind of, sometimes I read them, sometimes I don't, but there's always new things that are added to her resources. So it's definitely worth having that on your radar.
Thank you.
Love that. Love that. Oh man, well, this is a perfect place to complete, don't you think?
Yeah.
I could honestly just go on and on in this
Yeah,
conversation.
I know.
The relatability, it's just so refreshing. It's so nice to know we're not alone.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
when Carlin, you were sharing about no running for me and like the snap, I mean, like we're all cracking up because
Yeah.
we know, we've been there. It's just so beautiful and such medicine for the soul. It really is. So I just thank you all for sharing and what you shared. And thank you, Molly, for
Oh.
your time and your service and just your soul in the world.
Oh, well, thanks so much for having me. It was such a pleasure to reconnect with you after a few long years, and also to be in service of the community and meet new mothers and connect with mothers I luckily get to see often. So thank you all for being here. It was really a treat.
Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.